Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karva Vahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahaihi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Okay, so we are at verse 23 of chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita. And in the last two verses, Krishna Bhagavan was talking about that how when people don't surrender to the highest, but they go for the smaller devatas, what happens and all that. And in the last verse, we saw that he said that endued with the faith, he engages in the worship of that devata, and from it he obtains his desire. So usually to fulfill our desire, we kind of worship this or that devata, and even the productive potential in different things, in the worldly things he was talking about. And then he said Bhagwan is the one way who makes that faith stronger in them. And then he's saying that but everything is coming from him only. The power is coming from him, but those people that don't know it very well about that. So with that background, we go to the next verse, which is very, very important. And let's see, verse 23. Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedhasam devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Antavant, finite. So all the things that when they worship little devatas, it's a finite thing. That's why it's telling antavant, uska ant ho jata hai. Tu, verily, phalam is the fruit or the result, you can say. Tesham, of them. Tat is that. Bhavati is alpamedhasam. Now this is a very interesting word. Krishna Bhagwan is talking about those people who follow little devatas, those of small intelligence. So when they talk about that, in the worldly sense, they may be very highly intelligent and have a lot of education, wealth, everything, but from the spiritual perspective, that's what you have to remember. Alpa means chota, medhasam means buddhi, kam buddhi wale. Devan, to the gods, deva yajaha, the worshippers of the devas. Yanti, go to, they go to them. We'll see what it means. Mad bhakta, my devotees. Krishna Bhagavan is talking about my devotee means to the highest Brahman. Yanti, go to me. Mam is me. Api also. So what is the main thing I was telling over here is, so firstly we know, this is our own experience also, that whatever our desire may be, the result of that desire is going to be limited. Because there is a result means, phala bola hai, but that's what it means, result. So result always come to an end. That's why it's called antavantu. And then the alpamedhasam, like I kind of already explained, that he's talking about who are the people who go for smaller devatas, people who have little intelligence. So, we don't have to take it as an insult over here or anything. But Krishna Bhagwan is just making us realize that, we are not going for the higher gains, bigger picture. And then people who worship little devata in order to fulfill the little desire. That's what, Nikhilananji was saying, that our desire, if you really contemplate on what we are asking for, it's going to be little desires only. So, and then what happens is, suppose even if our desire get fulfilled, we know that those, results are going to be absolutely temporary. They will come to an end. And so he was actually saying something interesting. He said, we all need to sit down and think about, hey, what are the various our desires? that we want God to fulfill. Okay, and then we will find that all of them are going to be temporary. Unless you ask for that highest. But we are talking about worldly desire and all that. And then, so it just happens for short time we will gain that, and then again it will disappear. Okay? So he gave a very, very good example. He's saying that these desires, he compared it to a little child wanting to hold a bubble. And now I have a 2-year-old grandson, so I know he loves bubbles. Gets so excited and he wants to catch them, And he's saying before you even catch, half of them pop. But the moment you touch, boom, it's popped. And then he runs after another bubble. So he's saying that it's the same thing with us, that he's saying that, okay, we may want name, fame, wealth, position, house, all these things, but in the scale of eternity. So now you have to compare it to eternity, because otherwise we will say, no, this still is a long term. No, that's not what they are. They are making us look at, infinite. That's why. So he's saying in comparison in the scale of eternity, it is like a bubble only. Okay? And he's saying that forget about our desire, our life itself, he said. It can be, 70, 80, 90, 120, you can say, whatever. In the scale of eternity, it is that life is a bubble only also. That's why that Kabir ka doha is there, all talking about this. And a lot of saints and sages, which saying before you know it, it's gone. So, and that's why he was reminding, it was Nikhilananji, was reminding about, if you have heard of Bhaj Govindam. Bhaj Govindam is done by Shankaracharya ji, and he's telling that, Bhaj Govindam Moodamate. He's calling this person who was, from the worldly perspective, was very intelligent. He was doing some Sanskrit grammar and all that, really old person, and he's calling him Moodamate, just saying that, hey, bhajan kar le Bhagwan ka, because ye sab cheezon se tujhe kuch milne wala nahi hai, end of your life, that kind of thing. But he was just saying that how in that Bhaj Govindam there are verses which says that childhood goes in playing, and youth goes in chasing, like men will chase women, women will chase men, and fulfilling your desires and all that, and or entertainment or something. That's how and he's saying that Vruddha Avastha, isko unme Sanskrit word tha chinta sakta, means when people get old. This is just in general, huh? It's not telling that everybody's like that. In general, he was talking about that they start getting attached to worries. They are going to be worried about so many different things. Worry about, मेरा क्या होगा, फिर परिवार का क्या होगा, and he's saying देश का क्या होगा, जगत का क्या होगा, whole thing. सारे टाइम चिंता ही करते रहते हैं. These days, the more you hear the news, and your चिंता will even increase. And so the old people worry about everything. This is Bhaj Govindam. Shankaracharya is saying that. So he was just saying that how, if you look at very little children, they are very happy. They are very peaceful. They are just running around, उनको खाना पीना दे दिया, उनको जो उनकी ज़रूरत है वो पूरी कर, they are very happy. He's saying, but the elders are not like that. They will look at these younger people, running around, and they'll say, इनका क्या होगा, my God, The kids are not worried, but the adults are worried. So he was just reminding that how worried he's saying. But nobody is like, thinking about that Parabrahma. When we are worrying about the world and all, we are not thinking. So we are not attached to that Parabrahma, unfortunately. And if we were, then we won't worry so much, according to him. So this is what it's talking about. That is how our whole life goes in just fulfilling little desires and worries and all that. And so here he's indicating that the effort that we put in worrying or acquiring the worldly things, or fulfilling our little desire, same effort you can be worshipping the higher. It doesn't require anything extra. In fact, Nikhilananji was saying that you require less effort to go to the higher, according to him. because their higher is not demanding anything. It's just demanding the full surrender, because to please the little devta is a lot more difficult according to him, because all the anushtan and all people do, certain kind of puja, certain kind of ritual, and he was saying how little devtas ko aisa hi fool chadana chahiye, is pe wo karna chahiye. So much more, hangama with that. And he was saying that, but the result you get is going to be still temporary from the little devta, even though you will have put more effort. So like Hindi mein bolte na, ghate ka sauda. You're putting in so much effort and you're not getting, something permanent anyway. So, and then in this, it actually says in this verse that if you worship the little devtas, that's what you attain. So, what it means is that whatever those devta has the power, they can only give you that much. They cannot give you anything more than that. For example, if, in the government, you go to some kind of a department, they can only do that much what the department is capable of. They're not going to be able to give you anything more. So just same thing over here, that, they can only give you whatever their status is. And then Nikhilananji had explained that the devtas are also jivas only at a higher state, And then, and he says that the one who worships me, come to me. That's the most important. When he's talking about me, and you will see that, here the Swamiji is going to, in his commentary, going to tell us that when Bhagwan Krishna anytime says me, don't ever think that he's talking about Devaki's son, me. He's talking about that Brahman. He's identified with that Brahman. So that he will go to the Brahman, because somebody can look at Krishna Bhagwan also as a little Devata. We discussed that. If you don't know that he is Brahman, you're going to look at him as a little Devta only. So just keep that in mind. And then he also, it says when you go to the little Devta, it can also mean that you can go to the higher lokas, Swarga Loka and all that, if you are, but that's going to be about it. You're not going to go to the highest status. And that's why whoever did Kathopanishad with us, यमराज जी ने उसको काफी नचिकेता को प्रलोभन दिया था कि he put a lot of carrots in front of me. I'll give you this, I'll give you that. स्वर्ग का भी मैं तेरे को राज्य देता हूँ वगैरह. तो he said no, I already know स्वर्ग का राज्य is also temporary. So he's saying that you can become an Indra, but Indra is also another jiva only, and he's gonna one day his term is gonna get over. So that's what we have to contemplate upon. That if one who worships the highest, he will attain me, he will attain infinity. That's what he's talking about, that instead of limited, the infinity. So that's why this is a very important one. So what is the conclusion according to this verse? That, put efforts to worship that highest Brahman, and you will get infinity. You will become Brahman yourself. So that's what this verse is about. Any question, comment? Anybody wants to add anything? Okay, looks like everybody's satisfied with Krishna Bhagwan's explanation.
It's beautiful explanation, though. But I have a question.
Yes.
That Gurbani talks about the same thing, that we have to just pray the one, only one.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like Krishna says, you have cleared it up. I always thought that Krishna is saying that, no, worship me, but you have cleared this, that no, he's still talking about the higher power.
Absolutely. So this is where all the confusion comes in.
Yes.
And people fight with each other. It's even like the Christian people. They will say, if you don't believe in Jesus, you go to hell. Right? That's exactly what they say. What they are trying to say is actually, I was analyzing that, why are they saying, they are actually trying to say, if you don't follow what Jesus says, you will go to hell. You see the difference? Right. Because everybody's talking about the same thing, but people misunderstand. People are the one who make a mess of it, and they don't understand what they are saying. And there is a very beautiful drishtant that there was one Buddhist monk, and he happened to, he was walking by and he saw a church and he thought, that looks so beautiful. So he said, let me go inside. So he went inside and he sat down. Everybody was sitting, atmosphere was beautiful. And then the, priest was giving a sermon. So this he started listening very intently, and he started crying. So his whoever was sitting next to him, he said, "Why are you crying?" He said, "My Buddha is talking." Because to him the message was from Buddha. So
Yes.
it's the same thing. So that's the drishtant. But so that's exactly what it is, that people don't need to fight with each other or think that my religion is better than yours and all that. If you go to Gurbani, or if you go to even Allah, maybe, Muhammad may be saying the same thing, but these guys have made a complete mess of it. That, and a conversion and all that. And you don't need to convert anybody, because it's something, who do you connect with your heart? That's going to matter. Because then only you will surrender to the highest through that path.
Exactly.
If somebody
And
forces
like
somebody, they're not going to be able to do it. So I think that you brought a very nice point about this. Yes. Any volunteers to read? Anilji, you want to read then?
Verily, the fruit that accrues to those men of little intelligence is finite. The worshippers of the Devas go to the Devas, but my devotees come to me. The fruits accruing to these men of little understanding are limited. Fleeting desires for finite objects, even when fulfilled through the impermanent activities, must surely prove to be ephemeral. Out of gold, whatever ornament is made, it also must be gold alone. When chocolate is made out of sweet things, the resultant stuff cannot be bitter. The effects entirely depend, for their nature and quality, upon those of the causes.
So he's just telling you a complete scientific fact, right? That if you're going to chase the finite things in this world, finite devatas, finite, productive potential, whatever you want to call it, obviously the result is going to be finite. Because, like our teacher used to say, that from a womb of a lioness, a chua is not going to come out. It's going to be lion only. So whatever the thing is, that's going to come out from there. And in the world, it's always going to be finite.
So, Umaji, but people who go after finite things, they are slave to their desires.
True. But there is, I told you that a window will open up. If you have developed faith, a window can open up for the higher. But if you don't take that opportunity and get just stuck in the lower realm, then that's where you will be. It'll take you a lot longer. That's all. Yeah. True. Absolutely true. Yes.
Finite actions undertaken in finite fields, employing finite instruments, cannot but produce as a result, whether joy or sorrow, only a finite fruit. Joy arrested or ended is sorrow, and therefore in each instance of a sensuous desire satisfied, though there is joy and fulfillment, soon the sense of satisfaction putrefies to provide the sourness of dissatisfaction, or more often the very bitterness of sorrow.
So this is the worldly thing, and I think there was another verse. I think we already finished doing that. It could have been in chapter 4 or 5. I don't exactly remember, where Krishna Bhagwan said that this, the sansar or jagat, they call it, it's a womb of sorrow, meaning even if you get pleasure, it ends up in sorrow. And we already know that in the beginning it looks so great. And then after suppose I have this one big desire to attain something and I get it. Firstly, after I get it, it's not as great as I was thinking. And then, as far as sense satisfaction, the senses get tired. No matter kitna bhi, I love laddu. You can eat 1, 2, 3. After that, you'll get sick and you will feel like throwing up or something, Or I love somebody so much, but afterwards, I need my own space. You know what I'm saying? It's just that's the nature of thing that no matter what. So it's just saying that whether you get sorrow in the beginning or joy in the beginning, even joy in the end turns into sorrow only. So just remember that. That's what he's trying to say.
Because that is finite. So when it ends,
See, there could be several reasons it'll turn into sorrow. Either the thing will change, so sorrow will come. It will end, sorrow will come. Or it may be not what you think it was. Sometimes, we want something and then you say, hey, this is not what I thought it was. Sorrow. So whichever angle you look at it, it is going to end up in sorrow. That's what he's saying.
this statement of the Lord is supported by the following general rule that the worshippers of the Devas reach the Devas. Those who are invoking a desired profit potential in any given field of activity can, even when completely successful, gain only that profit.
So that को उन्होंने वो slant में लिखा हुआ है because it's like जिसके पास जो होता है वही दे सकता है, उससे ज़्यादा कोई दे नहीं सकता. That's what it means. That the devata, you are going there and you are asking for something, they will give you, if you finish all the things that they have to please them. But that is going to be the end. They're not going to be able to give you anything more. Yeah.
The above statement is declared as a contrast to a pure philosophical truth when the Lord says, those who devote themselves to me, come to me. Seekers of happiness in the world of sense objects, as a result of their strife and struggle, can gain their insignificant success in the fields of sense enjoyments. If the same effort is applied by them in the right life of constructive living, they too can come to discover their identity with the eternal absolute, the self. Due to the extrovertedness of the deluded ego, it comes to identify itself with its finite matter envelopments and reveals in a world of its endless number of its respective objects, together called in Sanskrit as the Jagat.
So Jagat is a material world, and इसमें mind, intellect भी आ जाता है, emotional world and all those intellectual or everything comes under that finite thing only. And then he was just saying that we strive and struggle, we still gain insignificant success. And then when we come to chapter 16, when he's going to talk about devilish qualities and divine quality, he's going to talk about that how people who have a very limited thinking that this world is only material. Suppose somebody thinks that the world is only material and they don't think of there is any consciousness there, and then they keep struggling to milk the joy out of this material world. They put so much effort, but end में उनको proportionately result नहीं मिलता है. Then they get so frustrated, suicidal or angry or frustrated and all that. So that's what he's trying to tell you. That's why we should, go for the higher, because then you will not have all these problems. And then the other thing he's done, due to extrovertedness of the deluded ego, and we did a very powerful verse in Kathopanishad when he's saying our indriyas are, उसमें उन्होंने almost he was feeling sad to say that भगवान ने क्यों बनाई ऐसी इंद्रिया, कि भाई बाहर ही जाती है. Because our indriyas are always outside, so that's why we get sucked into this world and we do that. So that's why they keep talking about, meditation is the one that you internalize, go inward, and then it told you the whole process. It cannot happen suddenly, there's a whole process. And then I was just thinking that, like since Jesse brought that up, lot of religion, they do go directly to the highest. But the reason in Vedanta, they are giving room to everybody, because it's not that easy to connect to the highest, right? So some people might get frustrated and just give up. I was comparing to the fact that, if I take a worldly example, I was thinking about it. Suppose somebody is in a high school and they want to go to college, right? So then they still have to go, undergrad and then grad and then maybe want to do PhD. Suppose if you take some somebody who is just fresh out of high school and give him the PhD material, he won't be able to handle it. He's going to just give up. I can't do this. That's why in Bhagavad Gita there are so many different steps are there. Hey, you want material thing? No problem, go for it. But this is how you do it. And when you do it this way, then in window will open up for the higher. See what I'm saying? So depending on where you are in the spiritual path, you can pick up from there, and there are remedies available for every kind of person. Gnostic, materialistic, and all that. But if you follow their formula, there is a better chance you will go to the highest anyway. So that's how I was looking at this, because it's, sometimes it's easier to say, hey, connect to the highest, but we might intellectually understand, we still don't know how to do that. So that's why it is very important that its whole formula is given. Hey, start with the karma yoga, then upasana, and then slowly your meditation, it will lead you to that.
So, Umaji, all these practices basically develop the discriminative power in you, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So like somebody who is like totally selfish, totally materialistic, you can tell him tomorrow, start meditating from tomorrow. He'll just sit there and he'll meditate on the material things. So usko bola ki, hey, make your selfish desire a little less. Think of your family, think of the society, think of the world, and slowly when he does that, then his mind gets purer. When his mind gets purer, then he starts contemplating, hey, who is this world? Where did I come from? We saw the whole thing, the process, He will become a jigyasu. And then he will ask questions, and then he can go to the higher. So, absolutely. But somebody who is full of materialism may not be able to. Yes, sorry.
I just want to say that if the whole world, this is all Maya, right? So then how would one motivate themselves, just like Arjun, to give their all, to give their best, when they think it's all for nothing.
So the moment you start thinking first, pehle baat to people don't even think it's for nothing, right? They keep thinking that, hey, if I get this desire, I'll be so happy. That's why we run after that, right? We think that, it will make me so happy. So pehli baat to hum sochte bhi nahi, agar sochenge to we will think. And as far as Arjun is concerned, Arjun, the chapter 1, it's called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Why it is called yoga? Because in his depression, it gave him a chance to jump higher. Because when you get really dejected and all depressed, then you question life. Hey, did I come here just to get depressed? Maybe not. Why would my creator hurl me in this world to be depressed? Maybe he has some other reason. Maybe he wants something higher from us, So sometimes the materialist, the point will come in your life that you will question. I suppose some very rich person, got everything materially, but still his health may not be in his hand, right? Tomorrow anything can happen. Some accident, or his children may not be nobody can give a kind of a whole list to Bhagwan. Hey, mujhe aisa bachcha chahiye. Itna sundar ho, itna ye ho. Hey, children just fall in our lap, as some wonder, and we have to take care of them. So no matter how rich you are, you have to still deal with all that. Somewhere in your life, you're going to question that. And if you are smart, when you question, that will help you to go higher.
But then why would you put all this effort in this life,
No, he's not saying, see,
to do your best, to do your duty in the best possible way.
See,
why would you put that effort?
Because all Krishna Bhagavan is saying, he's not saying he run away and become sadhu and just follow this. If he wanted to say that, he would have never told Arjun to fight the war, right? Whatever is fallen in your lap, that's your prarabdha, then, has come to you according to your own karma only. So now you take this package, change your attitude, and while doing your own duty, you connect to the higher. Usse better kya ho sakta hai? Think about it. We can't run away from our duties, right? So then somebody might say, people who say, oh, I don't have time for spirituality. Who said so? Because the Krishna Bhagwan already said that even if you have to clean the bathroom or you want to do, vacuum your house, you can do it with a better attitude and connect to me. That's the whole point over here. So it's not like I have to choose either materialism or I have to choose spirituality. That's not what Bhagavad Gita is saying. And when we go to our Taittiriya Upanishad, you will see they're asking for material things because, like we said, no, nobody likes bhukha nanga sadhu. We all want to have enough to eat. We need a place, So, and then as far as, leaving everything and all and going in the jungles, those people have that very strong calling in them. That's why they are doing it. Krishna Bhagavan is not saying that's the only way to reach me. A householder can reach him, a Kshatriya can reach him, anybody can reach him. Any kind of job you are doing, I can reach him. So we have to keep everything in consideration when we are thinking that. Because somehow we have in our mind, either I want material things or I want spirituality. On what Krishna Bhagavan is saying, hey, while this material thing, remember, don't get attached to it. Again and again he says, and you know why? Because they are temporary. Even relationships, okay, two people love each other a lot, they're not going to die together most likely. One person will die before the other. So that's also going to come to an end. So material things are like that. He's just making you aware.
I have a comment on this.
Yes.
From a different perspective.
Sure.
So actually, I was very materialistic, and then I switched. And then I had a guide. I asked him, why did I switch? So he explained me the best explanation I ever heard. He said, in the beginning, it was all fire, like the Mahapralaya. And a spark comes out. This is person A1. Another spark comes out is person A2. And they interact with each other. They create karmas and they have desires. And so it's like a car running through snow, and the snow is sticking to your tires. So through your lifetimes, you are accumulating karmas and desires, and you continue and continue till it becomes so much on your tire that you start shedding out the snow. So you start to reduce your desires and you start to look for something else. So it is a natural process, and everybody is in different stage, but a time comes when you switch. And it is not because you wanted to switch, but it happens because of the universe. So that's when you all become spiritual. You start attending Geeta and you start listening to this. It's like a natural process.
I think even material things, जब अपने आप धीरे धीरे छूटती है चीजें, that's better, no, than to do it to force. When you see some joy in something other than materialism, that's right. When it drops.
Pleasure out of that.
Yes, that's why. You may not be enjoying the same kind of parties that you did maybe 10 years ago, right?
With the toys you played as children, you don't care for them now.
No, that's what it is.
Yeah, you have a different level.
And there are some basic needs, since we have a body where even if a self-realized person, he has to eat and he needs a shelter and all those things. So, he's not talking about that. He's talking about being attached and having a wrong idea about them is wrong. In fact, he gave in chapter 3, he told Arjun that there are people like Raja Janak who had everything and he was still self-realized and Vairagi. Right? So he's saying that it's not like suddenly, or he even said a true sannyasi is one who has dropped his likes and dislikes. That's the definition he gave us sannyasi. He did not say that sannyasi means you drop all the materialism and wear a choga. He may be still attached to so many things. Or a person may be in 3-piece suit and running a huge company and he may be a complete vairagi from his mind, So there are so many aspects to it. All of that come together.
Oma ji, they say these materials are for your use, but they are not yours.
Correct. Very, very good point. What Krishna ji said.
Yeah.
Said that's what it is. Therefore, you use and we know it.
उधर से ये पक्का करना है कि they are not ours,
Right.
but they are for our use.
Yes. Because we are born in this world, and like they say, no, we
Totally
came nothing.
leave them. Yeah, certain things you have to leave, so you can't totally leave everything. So they are for our use. अंदर इतनी पक्का है कि भाई they are not ours.
Yeah, I think that's very good. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead with the next paragraph.
Discriminative and careful seekers, understanding the utter uselessness of the pursuit of finite pleasures, detach themselves from their false egocentric lives, and through the process of meditation upon the self, as advised in the previous chapter, they come to rediscover their own real nature in the sunny fields of bliss that lie unrolled beyond the thorny by-lanes of the physical, the psychological, and the intellectual quests.
Here is the answer to what Urmilji was asking. I know it's a long sentence, but this is what he's saying. Discriminative and careful seeker. So, जिसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना विवेक. जब विवेक जागता है ना, तब then you realize the utter uselessness of the pursuit of the finite pleasure. जब तक विवेक नहीं जागेगा, तब तक नहीं लगेगा ऐसा. And then you will detach with the. So it doesn't mean that he will drop everything and just run here and there, but all it means is he will realize that, hey, and whatever Krishna ji was saying, that all these material things are for my use, let me make the best use. You can use it for yourself, you can share it with others and all of that. And then through a right attitude, not getting attached to them, know that there is something higher, because it says, no, that come to rediscover the real true nature, which lies, it says, it became poetic. Swamiji became poetic. Sunny fields of bliss. There is a bliss in there, which is beyond what? The thorny by-lane. So ये जो कांटों का संसार बोलते हैं ना, और क्या है physical, at our old age, nobody needs to tell us it कांटों का संसार. All of us wake up with some aches and pain. सबका अलग अलग है, मगर सभी के पास है. Physical, psychological, and जितना परिवार बड़ा होता है उतना साइकोलॉजिकल नहीं भी होता. जिनके नहीं होता ना परिवार, वो वैसे रो रहे हैं कि उनके परिवार नहीं है, और जिनके हैं उनके इतने प्रॉब्लम्स. So psychological, intellectual quest. Okay, intellectually मेरे को ये करना है, वो करना है. It's still limited. And then who tells us that there is something beyond? The Shastras are the only one who tell us, or the wise people, saints and sages. Otherwise we don't even know. I mean, I didn't know anything about consciousness when I was in like a little girl. It's like, hey, who am I? I don't know. Then somebody say, hey, no, this is how it is. That's why in our Shastras, they say that Shravanam Mananam Nididhyasan. First, you got to listen. Listen means even read the Shastras or listen to the saint. They will tell you that there is something beyond. Then you have Shraddha in them. Then you pursue that. And we still may not know finally what it is. Description is given in Bhagavad Gita and everything. But we have to have that Shraddha that, hey, there is something. Because we see the people who are connected to the higher, they are more peaceful, they are more happy, they are together, they do so much work, they don't get tired. All these saints and sages, the amount of work they do, we can't even imagine. I mean, Shankaracharya, I think he left the world at 32, and look at the amount of work he did. Even Yogananda, he left the world in his 50s. 50s में तभी बोलते हैं we are young. And he already सब कर के, and so many things are there in this whole paragraph over here that until we even know that there is something beyond, we will not pursue it.
एक और बात है उमा जी कि when you do pasana or when you do meditation, there is so much joy in your life that you don't desire small things at all.
That's exactly, if you're doing it correctly, like if you follow Krishna Bhagwan's formula of chapter 6, how to do the meditation, and meditation upon the self, and then preparation needed for it. If you do it correctly, you are absolutely right. That And the peaceful mind is happy mind.
Yeah. In the language of the Gita, the first person singular stands always, at all places, for the infinite reality, which is the substratum for the individual as well as for the whole. Therefore, my devotees come to me is not the assertion of a limited historical figure as the son of Devaki, but the singer of the Gita in his divine inspiration entirely identifies himself with the principle of consciousness that is the core of the pluralistic dream of the mind and intellect equipment. Thus, to understand the above statement without its seeming limitations is to understand the Gita, the scripture of man, as declaring that the seekers of the self discover themselves and become the self.
So here is what Jesse was saying, that here he completely cleared it, that when he says my devotees come to me, he's not talking about the historical figure or son of Devaki, but he's identified with that highest. And I was just thinking, in the world also we do this all the time without even realizing it. Suppose if some guy works in a company, then he goes as a representative of the company, right? And he will say, use the language like, yeah, come to us and we will do this for you. It doesn't mean us meaning, individual. He's representing the company or some, क्या बोलते हैं, person, diplomat goes to another country and he's talking, hey, we are saying like that. It doesn't mean he's saying it. Or when he's saying I'm saying it, it means the whole country believes that way. So identifying with the higher thing, that's what Krishna Bhagwan is saying when he says me. So we should not take it as, when he says sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja, I've heard people say, Krishna, he's saying that just bow down to Krishna and forget about everybody else. That's not what he's saying. Highest dharma, he's saying is that self he's talking about. That drop your body, mind, intellect, dharma and go to the highest, and then everything will become okay.
Umaji, everywhere he says me, that only means self.
Yes, 100%. In Bhagavad Gita, all the saints and sages will say that. And then I think Joe has also discussed this, that it happened in Mahabharata that later on Arjun said, after the war was over and all that, meko Gita wapis sunao. So Krishna Bhagavan, no, I cannot. Because at that time I was totally identified with that. And right now, it's like the masterpiece only comes out once. So that's what this Bhagavad Gita is, a masterpiece, because the circumstances were such that he could just speak like a Brahman at that time. And so we have to just remember that, yes. So there is that connecting line, and it says, then why do people in general fail to reach the self? Again, remember how many times he's giving you this why, and we have to see where we fit in. So he's going to give one more reason in next time. But and he's covering from every scientific perspective why people don't. And it is kind of normal, but this is the chapter where in the beginning he promised Arjun that I'm going to tell you, the knowledge and wisdom both. I'm going to teach you how to experience that Brahman. That's why he's going through this whole thing, and then what we'll do is, after this chapter is over, we'll summarize the chapter. That way it will stick to us, that what he was trying to say, because it's a very beautiful chapter.
Mani, that's a great point, what you just said. Knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah.
Knowledge without wisdom is useless.
Right. So he's telling you that how to get to that wisdom level, because most of us get stuck at the knowledge level.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know everything, but we have a hard time practicing it and experiencing it ourselves. To the extent that we do practice, that wisdom we keep getting. But he wants to take you to the absolute highest. Yeah. And then the other thing, that when he said that as a seeker of the self, discover themselves and become the self. That's the biggest difference. because the finite thing will only take you finite. Here you become, means you become infinite yourself. Or the, river becomes the ocean itself. We have a very hard time understanding what that means. But all of them say it, right? And then it was Tejavananji one time who said that he was doing Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is a Puran, right? So then the whole story about Bhagavatam is that, Ved Vyasji did all the Vedas and he was still not happy. And then Naradji comes and tell him that you're lacking bhakti. That's why. So you should do something with Krishna Bhagwan's, charitra and about his thing. And so he started doing. So he was, when he was doing Bhagavatam, he said, the purpose of Bhagavatam is tumko Bhagavatmay bana dena. Huh? Then he said that this is a difference between the scriptures and the other subjects. He's saying that when you go do computer science, suppose somebody is doing computer science. So he asked the audience, he's saying, do you become a computer? I said, no, we don't. So he's saying that's the difference. Here, if you do this Bhagavatam sincerely, you will become that. That's the difference in this one, that you become what you are learning. So I thought that was such a great point, that when he said that they come to me, meaning you also become infinite. Or the other words are very simple words if you want to use, you will not get disturbed by the world. No changes. And at one point, Krishna Bhagwan ne bola Arjun ko, I think we already finished that verse, where he said that even doesn't get shaken by the heaviest sorrow. We don't know what that means. Thoda sa kuch hota hai, we start shaking and crying and all that. He's saying, because no matter anything, death, disease, you name it, some kind of tragedy and all, nothing can shake him because he has become infinite himself. So he knows. And then the example people give is, it's like when we watch the movie, no matter how bad the movie or good the movie is, both ways it comes to an end. White screen comes back. We get that time we are going up and down in our emotions, but it's still just a movie, So anyway, lot to contemplate.
People said so many bad things to Buddha.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. And then one of his disciples asked him, how come you are never affected when people say such bad things? So he said, try to give me something. And the disciple started to give him something and Buddha didn't take it. So he said, now, who is keeping it?
Correct. Very nice, right? Yeah. And I heard another very interesting perspective about Buddha, which, people sometimes, because Buddha did not talk about God, right?
No.
So one of the analysis was, and that was very interesting angle. He said the reason Buddha did not talk about God to the highest, and he just said how to get out of your misery. That was his main thing. He's saying because the moment you open your mouth to say about God means that Brahman, it's like you are not telling the truth in a sense. They say no, truth defined is truth defiled. You cannot describe that. And people will not understand. They will again misunderstand. So that's why I say, chalo isko chhod hi do. Inke bas ki baat nahi. They'll be happy if they get out of their misery. So it's not that he did not believe in that. He just did not want to indulge in, trying to explain. Whereas here in Bhagavad Gita, in our Upanishads and all that, everything is there. There is this also and that also. But he just chose, for maybe it was a demand of that time or whatever you may call it, but he chose not to discuss. He didn't deny it. He did not advocate it. He just kept silent on that topic. Yeah. But I thought that was an interesting perspective. उनको लगा शायद लोग समझेंगे नहीं तो क्या बोल के फायदा क्या है फिर.
और एक और बात थी ना कि he did not want people to blindly worship.
Yeah, so all those things are like, demand of the time. Even like Guru Nanak Dev Ji, his main thing was to simplify, their religion, because that becomes so crazy because, with this little devta and all that, people, when they start, it's like a maya jal. You'll never get out of it. So he just wanted to simplify it,
So why didn't Buddhism spread in India as much? Why did it go outside so much?
Because outside the religion, I mean, this is the theory, I don't know. Whatever I have heard, I can tell you that because they didn't have very strong religion outside. They were weak religions. So then the people get more attracted. But our Vedanta is a very strong thing. And then even in India it had spread, but it was Shankaracharya ji who brought back, they say, that hey, Vedanta has a lot of value. You know, because Vedanta में बुद्धा के जो principle है ना, वो वेदांता में भी है 100%. Punarjanma, you know, and that the world is changing. That's what he says, right? The world is changing. And then to the Buddha ka jo main thing hai, you know, middle path. Whoever has studied Buddhism a little bit, he talks about the middle path. And whoever did chapter 6 with us, Krishna Bhagwan, it as clearly there were verses that you have to have a balanced life. Without that, yoga is not possible. You know, don't sleep too much, don't sleep less, don't eat too much, don't starve, stay in the middle. That's what Buddha said too. So Vedanta 100% has every principle of Buddha. That's all. So, you know, to me, honestly speaking, I don't see Buddhism as something different at all. You know, it is the outsiders from India. They say, oh, Buddhism is here, Sikhism is here. Hey, all of them are together only. You know, because they all have the basic thing is the same. You know.
They all say that your desires are the cause of your miseries.
There you go. That's what this says. And Jainism also same. Some of them go a little more in one direction to reach there, and which is the demand of that time. That's why when you know Mahavir Jain came, or when Buddha, they come for a purpose, to fix something which has gone astray in the society. But we don't have to take it like a, you know, written in stone, because you need to see what the foundation is of that thing. You know, because sometimes, you know, when I see some Islamic people who become fanatic because they take the word of their Messiah like a written in stone, and that may be, you know, what you call valuable at that time.
Right.
If the time has changed, it's not going to be valuable right now. So what Chinmayananji said, that the religion has to have a very strong foundation, but it has to be flexible on the top. So you have to change with time. You cannot sit there and say, oh, 5,000 years ago ऐसा होता तो अभी भी ऐसा ही होगा, शायद नहीं होगा. But जो basic principle है वो same होने चाहिए. So here in Bhagavad Gita, it's all talking about basic principles. And then once you have that foundation, according to Krishna Bhagwan, you will make the right decision. You will know what to do. The clarity will come. So our teacher used to always say that it's purity of mind and clarity of vision. Those are the two things you need. Both the things you need. Otherwise there will be problem. Any other comment, question? Anybody wants to add anything? Okay, then I can stop Bhagavad Gita here. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhya mokshayishyami ma shuchah. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.